Hello everybody, we're going to look at sinusoidal functions with some vocab. The goal will eventually be to write the function, okay? But we're not there yet. But there's some vocab that we know that we're going to apply, okay? Period, frequency, midline, and amplitude. Many of these are fairly tame, okay? But the goal is then to be able to use those so we can, write the functions, okay? So again, you know some stuff. Okay, we know the period of this function is when a function decides to start repeating itself. Okay, yes, I know this thing starts at 0 and works its way down, and it hits 0 again at pi over 2. That is not the period, because then at pi over 2 it's going upward. So the next time it's at 0 and headed downward is over at pi. So our period is pi units, which means our frequency is the reciprocal of that 1 over pi. We get one full whatever wave of this is over the course of pi units. Okay, our midline is right in the middle here, and it has an equation of y equals 0. And our amplitude, the distance from the midline to the minimum, distance to the midline to the maximum, is going to be 3 units. Okay, there are lots of ways of figuring that out. You can just count. You could do other things. You could do some statistics to get there. None of that is necessary. You will figure it out. Okay. Again, everyone has a different little strategy there. Okay. Now I said the whatever kind of wave this is. Notice we are starting on the midline here. Okay. Yeah, it's headed downward. But remember, when it's on the midline, I think it's best to write that as a sine wave. Okay, now since we're going downwards instead of going upwards, okay, our sine wave has definitely been flipped upside down. So that's coming, by the way, okay? The goal here is just to lay the foundation. Okay, let's do number 3. Okay, the reason I chose this one here is notice we're up here at the maximum, so this one here, again, is a cosine wave. Yeah, I know we can shift it over and make it a sine wave. That's not the point, though. That also is like a lot of effort. Anyway, all right, so notice from maximum to maximum, this one happens to also be pi units. Okay, so our frequency, our period is pi units. Our frequency is 1 over pi. Okay, now the other stuff, a little bit different. Okay, notice our minimum value here is 8 while our maximum value is 4. Okay, and they have a difference. They're 12 units apart. Okay, obviously half of that is 6, which means our midline is going to be right there at -2. Which then means, okay, the distance from the midline to the maximum is going to be those 6 units. Midline to the minimum, also 6 units. So our midline, that equation is y equals -2, and our amplitude is 6. Okay, and since this starts at the maximum and works downward, like that, yeah, I'm fairly confident that I would say this is a positive cosine function as opposed to being flipped upside down. Okay, number 4 though, again, this is a sine wave. Okay, how do I know that? There's our midline right there. Okay, and our function starts on the midline and is headed upward like a fairly standard sine wave. Okay, now the period. Okay, there's lots of different ways we can figure this out. Okay, you know this. We can use that right there. Okay, we can use the maximums. We can use the minimums. We could use the x-intercepts. Stuff like that. To be honest with you, I think it is a lot easier to use those first 2 points that I chose. So going from 0 to 3 pi over 2. Okay, which means our period is 3 pi over 2. Thus, the frequency of this function is 2 over 3 pi. We have 2 full cycles of this sine wave over the course of 3 pi units. Okay, you can even see the 3 pi right there. All right, and our midline is at y equals 2. Remember, it's an equation. It's a horizontal line. Okay, and now our amplitude, all right, you can see it. All right, I don't know why I'm not being consistent with the colors here, but you can see from the midline to the maximum, that's 4 units. Our midline to the minimum, also 4 units. Okay. All right. Continuing on, one more. We need to do number 6. All right. Okay, let's see, this one here, again, lots of stuff's going on. All right, we see from minimum to minimum there, it is 4 units. Oh boy. Okay, notice these are just regular old units as opposed to radian measures. So our frequency is 1/4, again, 1 period over the course of 4 units. Okay, we've got our midline here. It is almost horizontal. Don't worry. I can work on it. So our midline is y equals 1. Our maximum occurs at 3. Minimum occurs at -1, which means our amplitude is 2. And now, since this function starts at the minimum and works upward positive, it's like it's a cosine wave, but upside down. Okay, yeah, and we're going to eventually start writing functions for these things. All right, a couple more, and then we will get out of here. All right, the sinusoidal function h of theta has a minimum point at pi/2, 0. Okay, if you want, you can draw a little picture. So we had a, let's see, there's a beautiful thing. So we got pi/2, 0. So let's call that pi/2, 0. The first maximum after reaching its minimum value occurs at pi, okay, 12. Okay, so this thing is going to go. Again, as you know, this thing repeats. Anyway, so that means half of this curve, okay, goes from pi/2 to pi. All right, so pi minus pi/2 is equal to pi/2. Okay, that means it takes another pi/2 to get to the maximum, or to get back to the minimum over here, which is going to be 3 pi/2. Okay, so we have a period here of pi because 3 pi/2 minus pi/2 is equal to 2 pi/2, and those cancel out, we're left with pi. Okay, now, let's see. Our minimum was 0. Our maximum was 12, okay, which means the midline has to be right in the middle at y equals 6. Therefore, the amplitude from 6 to 12, that's 6 units. From 6 to 0, also 6 units. And then our frequency, since our period is pi, 1/pi. So we have one full sinusoidal wave over the course of pi units. All right, let's do one more, and then I will call this one quits. All right, the sinusoidal function k of x has a minimum point at -pi, -10. I'm not going to draw a picture this time because it was a terrible picture. Okay, the first maximum after reaching the minimum occurs at pi. Okay, so to get from the first minimum to the first maximum, we're going from -pi all the way to pi, which means that's 2 pi units. So it's going to take another 2 pi units to get to the next minimum. Scratch that. The next minimum. Okay. So that 2 pi plus another 2 pi means our period is 4 pi, and we have a frequency of 1/4 pi. Okay. Our amplitude, okay, is going to be harder to find. Okay, we have a maximum of -4, minimum of -10, which has a difference of 6 units, which means the midline will be right in between, right in the middle of the -4 to -10 at y equals -7. And the distance from -7 to -10, -7 to 4 is 3 units. So we have an amplitude of 3. All right, again, you'll see a bunch more just like those. We'll talk more in class. We'll keep it going. Anyway, peace out, everyone.